Initial Lin values have appeared. Let's take a look at them. Note that these values, as well as calculations, are subject to change. Because there's no way for me to obtain frame data currently, all of these calculations were done assuming Lin has no on-field value, which may or may not be the case, and purely uses the value of her Moonlight Realm buffs and Nightbloom damage. Here's an overview of the theoretical damage per minute dealt with various meta teams, replacing one of the units with Lin. The control team uses all A6 weapons. Note that this table takes into account the stat loss of replacing an A6 weapon. Let's start it with Vault. In a Vault Moonlight Realm, you get a 65% dodge reset chance, a 5% boost to dodge damage, and 10% bonus bolt damage. Because Moonlight Realm naturally gives 50% endurance consumption bonus, you have enough endurance to spam Severe Helicopter most of the time, so this dodge bonus doesn't do much for Vote currently. Compared to a Vote team with Claudia, Lin is weaker before A3 and stronger afterward. Here's a version of just comparing the value of the advancements, comparing each advancement to A0. That is, that A0 to A6 is roughly a 45% damage increase for both teams, while 0 to 5 is only 23%. Next is Frost. Frost simply gains plus 10% Frost attack within the Moonlight Realm. Compared to a Frost team with Tsubasa, Lin isn't stronger until A5 and above. However, at A6, her value goes up considerably as her extra skill casts add that much more momentum to Frost teams. Here's an advancement comparison table. There's a huge difference between A0 and A6, but keep in mind that lower advancement Lin is quite weak compared to an A6 Tsubasa. Now let's look at Fire. Fire Moonlight Realm grants 4-second duration increase on burns, and 15% more damage to shielded targets. This shielded target damage is not factored into the calculations, however, because shields aren't up that often. When replacing Claudia with Lin, it's no surprise that the numbers are fairly underwhelming. However, Lin A6 does contribute more than A6 Claudia. The value of each Lin advancement is lower than all the other elements comparatively, only contributing a 33% damage increase from A0 to A6, compared to other comps which are around 50%. Finally, let's look at Physical. Physical Moonlight Realm deals 50% physical damage per second with no requirements. When we replace Tsubasa in the physical team, Lin takes over at A3 and above, and soars far beyond at A6. It's no surprise that Lin contributes a lot for physical teams, however, because there's not even a third SSR for physical right now. Here's an advancement comparison table. The difference between A0 and A6 is quite big, but not as much as Frost. Lastly, let's take a look at matrices. These are the estimated damage gains by using the corresponding matrix set with an A6 team with Lin. The 2-piece set is essentially a Samir matrix that stacks up faster and gives a buff that can apply to other weapons, and is very reasonable to keep up permanently. The 4-piece set gives a damage buff every 5 meters traveled in the Moonlight Realm, and is more or less permanent, as the buff lasts 15 seconds, which is long enough to bridge one Moonlight Realm to the next. Note that these values are for the total team damage increase, so compared to non-limited options, which are mostly just personal buffs, these team buffs are fairly significant. But with how powerful Lin's advancements are, it's debatable whether it's ever worth going for 4-piece over Lin advancement, unless you're a Fire main, then it seems like a better deal. In summary, Lin is a potential upgrade for each element in theory, but the breakpoint of this is between A3 and A6, when comparing it to an A6 alternative. However, if you're replacing something below A6, then the value of Lin relatively is that much higher. For the specifics, you can play around with the values in my calculator, link in the description. See you guys next time!